Our welcome to the news in English live from Mogadishu. With me, I am Omar. The top headlines include: Somali Prime Minister has arrived in Tunisia, north of Africa, to attend a Japan-organized meeting on the development in the African continent. Talks underway in Garowe, the capital of Puntland state of Somalia, between President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and the leader of the region to discuss the current issues in the country and reports of political strife between the two leaders. Somali government says it is committed to degrade Al-Shabaab militants in the country after a deadly hotel attack in the capital Mogadishu. United Nations has expressed concern over the current growing drought in Somalia, as 7 million people at risk of famine in the Horn of Africa nation. Ethiopian military jets have bombed a kindergarten school in northern Tigray region that prompted international condemnations. The latest was the UN, which has called for the immediate talks between the Eritrean government as well as the Ethiopian to discuss the conflict north of the Ethiopian. United States of America has sent troops to Somalia to resume the counter-terrorism operations. Indian president has received the credential letters from the newly appointed Somali ambassador to New Delhi. Welcome back to the news in detail. A high-level delegation led by Somali Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre has arrived in Tunis City, the capital of Tunisia, north of the African continent, to attend a two-day conference organized by the government of Japan. The talks in Tunisia will focus on the current situation in Africa and how Japan will help the countries develop their infrastructure. Somalia was invited to the conference for the third time, as it was the first time to be held this meeting in Africa since the breakout of the COVID-19 in 2020. Somali Prime Minister was received at the airport by the Minister of Defense of Tunisia and other high-ranking officials, and he has been holding talks with the Tunisian government officials before the opening of the conference. The TICAD conference this morning has kicked off in Tunis with the participation of more than 5,000 guests who were invited to attend the conference, which brings together the heads of states of the continent and other top government officials, including the Prime Minister of Somalia, Hamza Abdi Barre, who arrived in Tunisia last night. The Prime Minister of Somalia is expected to hold bilateral talks during the conference in Tunisia with leaders from across Africa. It is the first time Somali Prime Minister is paying a visit to a foreign country since he was appointed as the Prime Minister of the country by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in June of this year. The Prime Minister has recently returned from a domestic visit to Hiran region, where he met members of the Somali military as war against Al-Shabaab intensifies in central Somalia. Somali President His Excellency Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has announced an all-out war against Al-Shabaab last week after a deadly 30-hour siege at Hayat Hotel in the capital Mogadishu that left at least 21 Somali people dead. The attack was the first and the deadliest by Al-Shabaab since the election of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in May. The group still stages attacks in the capital, which has been liberated in 2011 by Somali forces backed by the African Union peacekeepers AMISOM. Somalia is facing its worst drought in 40 decades, according to the United Nations, after the failure of the rainy season is for the fourth year in a row. At least 7.8 million people in the country are facing hunger and lack of water due to the ongoing severe drought in the country that has impacted the lives of the pastoralists and the farmers in south and central regions of the country. Somali government has appealed on emergency humanitarian aid to help the citizens suffering from the drought crisis since last year. United Nations has warned a famine in the country if the aid is too late. Somali President has appointed Abdurrahman Abdishakur Warsame as his special envoy for the drought response shortly after assuming the office from former President Farmajo in the capital Mogadishu. Somalia was hit by the worst drought in 40 years, according to the United Nations, and the whole region in the East Africa are facing a similar drought that is attributed to the conflict, climate change and the war in Ukraine that has limited the flow of the wheat and other commercial goods to the continent since earlier this year. Somali people, a majority of them pastoralists and farmers who lost their crops and livestock to the current drought. The government of Somalia has recently dispatched aid from the United Arab Emirates to several areas in the country, including Pula, Burte and other towns in south of the country. Meanwhile, the United Nations has asked for additional funds to save the lives of the Somali people who are currently facing one of the deadliest drought in 40 decades. People began to die from the starvation, mainly the children under the 5 years of the age, according to the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF. You are still watching our news in English live from Mogadishu. Ethiopian military air force have pumped a kindergarten school in the Mekelle town, the capital of Tigray. Tigray television, controlled by the regional authorities, blamed the federal government of Ethiopia for the deadly airstrike at the playground of the kiddies and the kindergarten in Mekelle on Friday. No other military aircraft operate in Ethiopian airspace. The Ethiopian government subsequently urged the local residents in Tigray to stay away from the military bases, saying it intended to take action to target the military forces. Kibron Gebrselassie, the chief executive of Aidir Hospital, said on Twitter post the hospital had received 4 civilians dead, including 2 children and 9 wounded. He said this airstrike has hit the children's playground of the kindergarten. Some media reporters called to the site and kindergarten. It was not clear if there were any military facility nearby. Federal government spokesperson Lagesa Tulu said the news of the civilian casualties was lies and fabricated drama, and accused the Tigrayan authorities of dumping body bags. He denied government airstrikes hit civilian facilities and said they only targeted a military sites in Makela. Footage is published by the Tigray TV showed a building with the roof blown off, the revealing a twisted jumble of the sides. Emergency workers carrying a stretcher from the behind the damaged pink wall painted with a Ghent butterfly. Ethiopia has been facing a conflict since the end of 2020 after Ethiopian military launched the offensive against the TPLF in Tigray region. The conflict has claimed the lives of thousands of Ethiopians and forced millions to flee their houses. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been under international pressure to end the deadly war in his country. That's all for our today's English news live from Mogadishu. With me, I am Omar and the rest of the team of the program will leave you. Bye for now.